vodka. I've just finished making this. It's pretty standard vodka really, but I've added a specifically selected ingredient that's kind of a little bit different for a very, very specific reason. How's it going, chasers? I hope you're having a kick-ass week. I'm Jesse, this is Still It, and this is a beetroot vodka. It's not really vodka, we'll talk about that later on. And I'm here to tell you that the beetroot has 100% impacted the mouthfeel a little bit, but definitely the aroma and the flavor. And I've made this because I have a very specific use case for it, which once again we'll talk about later on. In the meantime, let me show you how I made it. Let's start out with 6 kilograms of beetroot. The real stuff, guys. The actual vegetable. Don't get it out of a can, that's a bad idea. Top them, tail them, dice them into 2-3 centimeter little cubes. Pop all of the beetroot onto baking sheets, giving a little bit of room around each piece so it can do its thing in the oven. No oil, no salt, none of that, and into an oven at 180 degrees Celsius for 30 to 40 minutes. We're looking for a little bit of color, but not burning or really getting dark is what I'm aiming for here. Pull those out and we can get onto the sugar wash. Today I'm going to be making a 70-litre batch, but I'm pretty sure this is going to scale up or down to whatever size you need or think is appropriate for your equipment. So I've got about 25 litres of water heating up in one of my other pots. I'm actually just going to throw all of the beetroot into that just to really make sure it's kind of cooked through, start to break it down a little bit, get the goodness that we want from the beetroot out of the beetroot and into the liquid. We can put all of that into the fermenter and mix in 12 kilograms of sugar. That's this in freedom units. All of these details, the whole recipe will be down in the recipe below, by the way, team. Make sure all of the sugar is dissolved and top up to 70 litres with cold water, checking that our temperatures are about right. If it's looking like it's going to be too cold, add some more hot water. If it's looking like it's going to be too hot, keep using cold water. I'm aiming for about 33 degrees Celsius today because I will be using Angel Red Label yeast, and I'm going to heat it up a little bit after I pitch the yeast. Surprise! It's another video sponsored by Into the AM. Why do I keep working with these people? Because they make absolutely amazing shirts. They feel great to wear, they're long-lasting, awesome quality, and most importantly, they keep releasing these amazing designs. They just keep coming. It's absolutely non-stop. There are also 3 collaboration shirts now between Into the AM and Chase the Craft, specifically designed for those that are into chasing the craft. Easter eggs, distilling references, so on and so forth. So if you're interested in amazing quality shirts, their underwear is actually really good as well. Check the link in the description down below, which will get you 10% off. I also have grave suspicions that the beetroot isn't going to give the yeast everything we need in terms of nutrients. So I'm going to put 3 teaspoons of a wine nutrient. This is actually in as well. Honestly, I've kind of got to the point where I don't stress too much about the specific yeast nutrient I'm using. As long as it's actually a yeast nutrient, I just roll with whatever I have on hand. Double check the temperature, give it a really good blitzing to get some oxygen into solution for our yeast and pitch our yeast. This one took 4 days to ferment out. It is time for distillation. Now here's the thing, team, I specifically want to hit around 85% ABV with the final product, which is the reason that this is actually not a vodka. You really need to be distilling to a higher level if you want to call it a vodka. For the purposes of this video and for titling it and kind of telling you guys what I was making, I mean, what else would I call it? It's not a beetroot brandy. Suggestions, tell me. If you think it's silly that I called it a vodka, tell me what I should have called it instead. Down there. Anyway, the plan to hit 85% ABV is thus. I'm going to take roughly half of the wash out of the fermenter, pop it into the still, and distill it as a stripping run. Now, I know that I'm going to want 3 plates on my still for the next run. I'm lazy, I can't be bothered taking those out. So I'm just going to run the stripping run with the plates in there. I'm not going to put any coolant through the deflag though. Once the stripping run was finished, I emptied all of the stuff left in the still out, put the low wines in, the rest of the wash in, and get up for the distillation run. I'm leaving the still set up exactly the same way. I'm using 3 plates. The sight glass on the bottom is purely there as a puke detector, and this time, of course, I'm going to be running coolant through the deflag. So I ran it at full reflux for about 5-10 minutes just to get everything sort of fractionated out in the column. Slowly reduced the amount of water going into the deflags to collect 4 shots, rolled over into collecting heads, found my heart's cut, kept on collecting for some time. I had a wee issue halfway through the run where a couple of the kids jumped in the shower and it kind of messed up the balance of the still, just the water pressure went a bit funny. So I popped it back into full reflux for another 5 minutes, had to throw away about probably 100 mils of distillate that went just bad. And once again, slowly reduced the water in the deflag to start collecting again. And once I hit tails, the run was done. So let's double check our ABV and see if my mental math / gut feeling got us anywhere near 85% ABV. The alchemeter is reading 84% ABV. This is slightly above 20 degrees Celsius. So that's probably more like 83, 82% ABV. Pretty damn close to what I was hoping for. And it's going to be perfect for the specific application. Like there's a specific reason I made this, which we'll talk about in a sec. But first, let's get some of this proofed down to roughly 40% ABV. And we shall thank the Patreons for being the people that keep this show going month in, month out. Thank you so very much, Patreons. Q&A videos are back. I have just posted one, and we'll put another post up to get some more questions for the next one as well. Let's taste it, and then I'll tell you why I made the stuff, shall we? So, even on the nose, I am getting an interesting flavor that is slightly different to anything else I've tried before. You know what? Actually, I've got some potato vodka. We should taste this next to that, right? Hold on. There we go. Potato vodka on this side, beetroot on this side. This is water. So, on the nose. Yeah, it's so crazy. They're similar, but different as well. They both have an interesting earthy kind of vegetable thing going on. Not cabbagey or kind of cauliflower or anything like that, but they do have, a root vegetable hints to them, even on the nose, which is interesting. Slightly sweeter, but also more earthy. No sweetness in this, but kind of more powdery, which makes sense. That's kind of how I would describe those two vegetables next to each other, right? Beetroot and potato. All right, let's have a taste. I do believe I absolutely freaking nailed the cuts on that. And funnily enough, it kind of tastes like beetroot. It has that slightly sweet aspect to it that kind of hints at mixed wild berries, I guess you would call it, but isn't quite there. And it has a sweet earthiness to it as well that's very similar actually to actual roast beetroot. So that is, I'm happy with that. Let's have a taste of this one. Cuts aren't quite as good on this. I think there's something a little bit headsy in it, but the potato flavor is still coming through. So I'm going to call this a success. I'm going to say that it worked, and interestingly enough, at least at like 84% ABV, 83% ABV, the beetroot flavor is coming through. But why on earth have I made it? I am going to be revisiting the absinthe series with Alan Bishop. So last time we made a video kind of recreating a 1700s historic absinthe. And for that, I used his brandy substitute recipe, which works really freaking well. I love that stuff. But for this one, it was more likely going to be made out of sugar beets. I don't have access to sugar beets here in New Zealand, so I can't just go out and, buy it and make it. The idea was that maybe, just maybe, if I just used a sugar wash and used standard beetroot, we could crowbar in a little bit of that earthy unctuousness into the spirit to use as a base for the next installment of Historic Absinthe. And that'll be coming up probably sometime in the next 4 weeks here on the channel. So, I hope you've enjoyed this team. I hope you find it interesting, like I do, that the beetroot flavors come through, even with only 6 kilos of beetroot. And if you've tried something similar, please, of course, let us know about it down in the comments. I'll catch you next time, team. Keep on chasing the craft. See ya.